My wife's ex wants pictures of his son he abandoned 10 years ago. When I met my wife, she had a 2-year-old son and had been in a relationship with the father up until he had an affair and ran off overseas with his mistress when their son had just turned 1. When their son was around 3, his biological father got back in contact demanding to see him. He flew over to see us, threw his bags on the floor, and asked which bedroom he'd be staying in. He then grabbed a bottle of water from the kitchen and said he wanted to use my car to take his son out each day for the next 3 days he'd be staying with us. I told him he would need to find a hotel and rent a car, and while he argued with me, I stood my ground. I didn't know the guy and he had walked into our house like he owned the place, showing us zero respect. 6 hours after he arrived, he dropped the news that he'd no longer be paying child support because his new girlfriend had 3 mortgages, parents, and grandparents to support financially. He reasoned that as I had now married his son's mother, that meant I'd be the one to take on financial responsibility for their kid as well. I already had children from a previous relationship that I supported while he had no other children and a better paying job than me at the time. I suggested he sign away his rights to me and legally let me adopt their son in exchange for him cutting all ties, obligations, and contact unless the boy asked for it. He wanted it in writing that he wouldn't have any financial responsibility to his son, and I agreed to his conditions. It's been 10 years since the adoption. My son is now 12 years old and hasn't asked about his biological father once. That man has since had another child, yet he's been persistent in asking for pictures of my son who he chose a long time ago to abandon. My wife doesn't see the harm, but I'm bitterly opposed to him having anything, pictures or otherwise, of my son. I don't know if I'm being an a-hole, but I'm the one who's raised him, taught him right from wrong, rushed him to hospital in the middle of the night, taught him to ride a bike, and all the other things that come with parenting. His biological father lives on the opposite side of the world and would never come over to visit, but he would have no problem posting images of my son on social media to make himself look like an upstanding father, and I'd rather protect my son from being used by a man he has no interest in knowing. Am I the a-hole here?